But it's just been such a trippy time where I can't believe how close I feel to this crisis, how close I feel to the relief efforts around this crisis through the work with Aunty Sewing Squad, and how fragile I'm understanding government to be as an artist who both is 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And so this piece to me did everything it was supposed to do except actually physically tour. So I appreciate that as a success. I mean, I just wish we weren't in this situation. This is actually a very scary, traumatizing, tragic time for us.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, especially like you live in a neighborhood where it's probably affected so many people, and like
oh God, yeah,
really hard.
I don't say this as a joke, but I really weigh how bad things, like, to me, it's an economic indicator when I see homeless Asian people. And that, there's this joke that there are no homeless Asian people, but they completely are in this neighborhood, to the point that it used to be like there was like 2 that I could keep track of. Now I'm counting, up to 10. Like that's a new one I haven't seen. That's a new person I haven't seen. And homeless anybody is tragic, but that's really indication that even the family structure, the tight-knit family structure of this neighborhood in Korean communities couldn't keep this together, couldn't keep it under wraps, couldn't help house folks, right? So yeah, that's really bad. And I'm watching all these family-run restaurants shutter. It's rough. It's a really rough time.
Yeah, we have a couple different Asian restaurants near us because we lucked out, and we've noticed that like they're getting hit really hard. And then like one had a small COVID scare early on, so they had to close down for a bit.
Oh God.
It's changed the game for so many people.
The biggest thing about our neighborhood is that we are the weirdest kind of thing ever. The way South Jersey's run, it's like we live in a weird trailer park right next to a really good working class neighborhood, right next to the country club of the rich people, and like within like 12 square miles you have all that. Yeah, that's just how our neighborhood.
That's LA too. It's like the richest and the poorest people are living like side by side. Like you go 2 miles out from here and it's like these $1 million houses. And I am my home is like worth double what I paid for it 10 years ago, which yay, great for me, but what's the point if all my neighbors are getting evicted into the street like that? Yeah, I don't need that, like. So yeah, we really have to kind of take a hard look at ourselves, and I don't know if this is going to happen when we're running around scrambling constantly, but I'm it's definitely something I'm thinking about as an elected official, and also an artist and someone who works with communities and is always trying to think about, what this work can do besides just entertain people.
Yeah. I mean, I took classes in college where one teacher, and it stuck with me for life, said theater is supposed to entertain, educate, and enlighten. And like that trio has always sort of stuck with me. And seeing digital theater is also, which is part of our book, shine this huge light on disparity. Because as much as it opened doors for people who had doors slammed in their face, it also shined a bright light on people who like can't afford tech, even like the smallest tech, or they don't want to show off their houses. They like college kids who can't do theater because behind them is the real world, like, and they don't want to show it.
Oh yeah.
Your story reaches across so many people because you talk about the political aspect, which is usually like a rich or higher class aspect, but then you talk also about like how you were just one person, you didn't know what you could do, and that so feeds into how I think everyone's feeling right now, is that how am I as one person going to do anything about all of this? And the answer is you can only help what you can.
Well, first you take care of you. You try to take care of you first. But I do think that being generous has helped me make it through this. Otherwise, I would just be panicked, fearful. And I'm still completely panicked. But like at the top of this, I was like, I have no income. I have no income. I have no income for the rest of the year. And I'm in a field that is collapsing. Oh my God. And I was like, I'm going to pretend everything's okay because I've lived through 9/11. I lived through the 2008 recession, which really felt like the sky was falling in the arts. Like I was in conversations with theaters that literally folded the week after. In conversations with theater to be presented, and they're like, oh, we have to shut our doors. So, theater, it didn't make theater go away. It still survived. It rebirthed. So I said, I'm not going to give in a panic this time. I'm going to pretend I'm more in charge, even though I have no income whatsoever. So I got porta potties for my unhoused neighbors. I got like a blanket and quarter drive going so they could do laundry and stay warm. And then stumbled upon this mask making crisis. And I was like, oh, I sew stuff. And then started the Aunty Sewing Squad. And there are a lot of other, mostly women of color who know how to sew. We're like, okay, I can do it too, because they think you can only collect your pearls so long, right? And you have to just, we have our loss. We have people, aunties in the squad, who have no income right now, who are living off savings. They're not sure. They're still sewing up a storm because they need, because giving back is how they survive too. And having this community of other people who are still giving despite all this is how we survive, right? It's not because it's an extra or unnecessary thing, unfortunately. I kept saying, like, when is this need going to be over? And unfortunately, there's so many communities in the United States, like indigenous communities and farm workers and undocumented communities who don't have access to fabric with elastic that goes around their ears. And they're more at risk for this virus. So here we are supporting them and doing things like, now we're doing a warm coat drive for Standing Rock. And these are like small things, right, that are very doable, right? We can't undo systemic racism just ourselves, but we can at least help our neighbors make it through the winter, right?
Yeah. No, those little fights are huge. I think about, like, the legend of the starfish and like throwing, the old man with the little girl, depending on which one, threw the starfish back. And then people are like, why are you doing that? You're not going to make a difference. And throw another starfish, and I helped that one. And I think that's where we're at, where we helped. If we can help one person, maybe we change a life,
Absolutely.
That's, I mean, and thank you for doing the Aunty Sewing Squad, because like one of the first masks we received was from an organization like that.
Oh, great. That's great.
I'm immunocompromised, and even though we can sew a bit, we didn't have a mask right away before everyone said you need to wear a mask.
A lot of people did not. A lot of people.
It went from like masks don't work. It went from masks don't work.
Yeah, I know.
Don't wear a mask, don't get a mask, to, by the way, you had the Surgeon General on TV showing you how to put on a mask, and I was like, what just happened?
It's very confusing. It's very confusing, and they, I don't know. It's
it's chaos.
He said, she said, he should. Scientists said, scientists didn't say. I don't know. I don't know, but we know they work. We know they work, and we know now that until there's a vaccine, instead of playing roulette with your life, just put a goddamn mask on.
It shifted everything.
I think for all of us, like all of us who wanted to do apolitical work, and that doesn't exist, by the way.
It doesn't.
I for many years was like, I just want to do apolitical work, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't exist. Even if you're doing a play about white people, it's about white people, right? It's still about race. And by not addressing race stuff, it's its own statement, and in that it is blatantly ignoring, whatever. So I think I agree that, like, in that moment, I was just like, what do I make work on? And does it make sense to do a show that's like, look how crazy this world is? Because we see it already. So what's left? What's left to do with this space, right? That we have the privilege to sit in for an hour or 2 hours. And that's what I think the show was for me, was like, I guess I am moving more. Like, for a long time, I was like, I am not a social worker. I'm a theater artist. And now I'm just like, you know what? We're social workers. We're social workers. We're FEMA. Like, art, like, everything is turned upside down. The government's not getting the job done. So it's on artists to sew these masks, to do relief drives, to run for office, to, set this context, to like, at least like address this context that we're in, that is so insane, by just inserting ourselves in it, because this system is not working and we're seeing it's not working. But artists, we know how to work with nothing. We know you give me a loaf of bread, I'll feed myself. You know, it like I've been living, this is an aside, but at the top of the year, I was like, I'm gonna only spend $50 a month on groceries. And I didn't know there was gonna be a pandemic that would keep me at home. Like I built some outs in for myself, which is like I'm allowed to eat out, but not because I ran out of food at home. But I just was like, I'm gonna cook. I'm gonna find, you know, what's the inexpensive but healthy food. And yeah, I've totally done it. I'm actually below my budget. And so there, you know, artists will figure this out. We know how to do this.
Yeah.
I can point you to like artists can figure out how to live illegally in some gallery space and still get a grant for making a piece about them living there. And like, we'll figure it out. And we just have to use that same sort of sensibility towards these other big problems and not be afraid of how boring these meetings are and how scary the idea of becoming a politician is. We're needed. We're fucking needed right now. So fix it.
If we don't do it, who will?
Yeah, like because of this, we've met people over the country, and the artists are the most political right now because there's so much at stake, not just for art, but for everyone they know, and they feel it more than other people. Like they feel the hurt of others. I think just because you're emotionally tuned to like what's going on. And so like the biggest letter writing campaigns about Breonna Taylor and
the Breath Project in general.
Well, the Breath Project, but no, I was talking about like a friend of ours writes letters, like postcards and letters every day for causes. Another friend fought really hard to like do something political in their own hometown, and it's always been artists like who are like, let's shine a big light on this goddamn problem so like people can see it. And that's been awesome. That's been the awesome of the downside of what's going on right now.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people step up. I'm seeing people still clutch their pearls, but I'm seeing a lot of people step up. And like I look at the aunties, and like my mom, who you will never see in a march. She associates it with like danger, but she's like sewing for BLM. She's sewing masks for like prisons and stuff. And I'm like, who is this woman? Like this is, you know, but like there are ways that folks, you know, you don't necessarily constantly have to throw your body in what feels like a perilous situation to be of support. And activism doesn't have to look like this one specific thing. There are other ways you can kind of activate and be sort of behind the scenes and offer the labor or offer the care and cooking or whatever towards a movement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been the one kind of cool thing about this is how people help in different and unique ways.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to take initiative and just do it. And what I've learned from sitting in these long neighborhood council meetings is like, government is so slow. So if you're going to wait for government to save you, you're going to die waiting. So,
oh God, we've been thinking
step
about
up.
that.
Step up. Sadly,
we've been thinking about that too. Just because we're both disabled, we're both BIPOC, all the different gender queer, LGBTQ. This whole pandemic has also been the thing with George Floyd happening too, where theater goes down, and then now everyone starts wondering whether or not they want to go back to the theater when they come because of all the inequities that were around with the creators. We hold Black Theater roundtables where we
actually I'm
cool.
about BIPOC to open it up to more people because like it was so cool. It's people from different walks of life coming in and just talking about how we feel about theater, how we feel about this moment. And one of the things that came up was like older people were like, we've seen this is the same dance that's been around forever. Yet younger people were like, no, we're angry. We're very angry. And we're sick of this stuff happening. And so it was interesting to have them talk to each other and realize that like what everybody was feeling. And I said I created it not to find answers, but maybe to find the right question.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know what we're looking for right now, but those conversations around theater and theater inequity and gatekeepers and all that stuff has come up a lot.